to talk it all through. This is the show that's made for you. We've laughed, we've learned.
We shall start this officially. What is freaking up, you guys? My name is Sarah.
And my name is Eve.
And we are Burnt Out Perfectionist.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Currently it's January 28th. It's a Tuesday, but you'll be listening to this next Monday, which will mean that we're into the month of February.
I know, I was going to say, so happy 154th day in January of 2025.
Oh my God, everybody's like complaining that January is so long, and I'm like, is this because everybody's like, oh, I'm going to the gym every day?
Oh, that's what it could be. I think for some people, it's political means. For some folks, for other folks, I think it is like those routine-based changes or stuff like that. I do have to state, I feel like, because your birthday's in January,
Yeah.
I feel like your birthday was like 2 months ago.
I also feel like it was 2 months ago, but at the same time, like this year, I feel like, so my birthday's in the first week of January, and till the early January birthdays, I think it's also like I'm more outspoken and complaining about it than usual. It is such a pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah, because there's a lot of people who do like, I mean, power to you if you're doing your cleanses and this is the thing that motivates you where you're doing like all of the things. But
my birthday is not like, it's like those people that are like mid-spring that are like, oh, hot girl summer. And I'm like, but like the summer birthdays can also enjoy their birthdays. Being born at the first, like, end of December, early January, worst time of year.
I know a lot of people though who have like birthdays that are like within we're in Canada, so like spring break in Canada, which is like a 2-week period, summer holidays and winter holidays, and they're like, it is such a pain in the ass, like if you're a parent or even if you're a kid and stuff like that, and they're like to like book like birthday type things because people are out of town or people are busy. And I was like, really? You have an issue with that? Because it's like, I feel like as soon as kids start school, they're in every fucking active. Like, I know people who have their kids in stuff like every single fucking day of the week.
My thing is, though,
I'm like, I'm tired for you.
It's like the people that are born, like, I feel like in the summer, they're like, oh, well, it's during the summer. It's like you don't know people for the next class and stuff like that. You only know your friends. People say the same for spring. Like, fall is great. Like, do you get handed Easter wrapping paper if you were born in spring? No. Are you given, oh, well, this one looked the least holiday out of, but I didn't want to buy new wrapping paper.
I just buy those.
Just buy me craft paper. I don't care.
I just buy those sets from like Costco that have like, they've kind of like weaned away from like color though for a lot of those like year-round ones. A lot of them are like silver and gold, but I got a blue one, and the blue one's great because it's double-sided, and there's some that have this like not chrome but like a prism like reflect on them, and they like it doesn't come off, like it's built into the paper, and it's great for like the birthdays. I find a lot of people, and I don't know if anybody else wants to like comment on this, but I found that there's a lot of people who aren't doing birthday parties anymore, even for kids. Like at one point, I know that some of the kids in her class, like we had like a 5-person birthday party where there was 5 kids right before summer break or during summer break or whatever, who had all their stuff together, which was awesome. And then one person had it at their house because they had a pool, and that was super fun. But I find that there's a lot less like birthday get together things. I'm wondering if it's like an economy thing. My kid's in grade 3, so like, yeah, like let me know in the comments of like social media posts or on YouTube and stuff like that if that's something that you're finding that's common, because I always have a birthday shelf stocked. So if I find stuff that's a good deal or Charlie gets gifted something that's really awesome, sometimes I'll go find that thing and buy it and have an extra one on the shelf, because I've only had it happen once or twice. My kid is very good about giving me like her agenda and letting me read through it, or when she gets an invitation letting me know, and we have pretty good communication amongst like the 2 classes for grade 3 at her school. But every once in a while you lose complete track of time, or the month feels like it's a million days, like January 2025, and you're like, oh shit, I need a present and the things tomorrow, but we have hockey tonight and she's gonna be tired, and then we also have to go grocery. Okay, well, at least I have this thing.
I think it's also an obligation thing. Like, I think a lot of people are like, you have to invite the whole class. You can't invite.
It's like
That's what's hard. I think a lot of kids too, because they're in so many activities, like they'll hang out with those friends, or like I know a lot of parents are doing like parent day or like yes day instead.
That's what Ben's cousin did. So she has 2 kids. She has a girl and a boy, and it was the boy's birthday, and it's a couple days before Christmas. So what she did is she took him out and she took him to like a play place, and they went and did a bunch of stuff. And then I volunteered. It was originally her grandma was going to have her, but I volunteered and was like, we would love to have like your daughter. She can come hang out with us. Like, we don't even really have to do anything. And they were so excited. The girls did like crafts and just like hung out and played and had so much fun. So I love stuff like that. I remember when I was like, when you kind of like get out of the age range, or you're not really like a Barbie kid, because a lot of girls would play with Barbies for like years, up until like 12, 13 years old when I was a kid. I don't know if that's the same now. But our dad changed it so that way it would be like, oh, instead of having like whatever, they would take me out for like dinner. And I would just take one friend. And it'd be like friend dinner. I always took Janine.
I think I had birthdays until like I was 12.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the last one I remember. Or I would like do a sleepover, and then it got to the point that I was like, don't really want to go anywhere.
You were also in every sport known to man.
Yeah, like I just didn't
Like half the time you just weren't here.
No, I wasn't. But I feel like there's like a definite mix now. But very random rants of the day. But January.
No, not a rant. It's just an observation. I was like, very interesting. I'm just wondering if that trend is going to continue for the rest of the year. So far this year for season 3, we have done a letter to our future selves, which is the episode that came up last week from the one that you're listening to. So what day was Monday?
The 27th of January.
What day is today?
The 28th of January.
It's Tuesday?
It's Tuesday.
Oh.
Tuesday.
And then we also had the 2025 predictions, like our pop culture ones, TikTok ban, and the anti-resolution era episode and stuff like that.
Which I feel like a lot of these are about like manifestation vibes. Well, we're thinking like as you've probably listened to our other episodes about like anti-resolution vibes.
Yeah.
So we thought today we'd talk about how do we take our dreams and predictions and actually make them happen. So like kind of manifestation, but we also like I find sometimes when I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna manifest, I like look up a YouTube video and these people do it for like 3 hours and I'm like, so sorry, I have 10 minutes.
I do not have the attention span for that.
So like manifestation, and they don't have to be like big goals. So like we do things like vision boards.
Yeah.
Um
Like I make my vision board on Canva. I've done it for the last 3 years on Canva. And then the last 2 years, I've actually printed it out. And in Canada, fun fact, since Costco changed their photo lab stuff, I changed over to London Drugs. And London Drugs is great and super affordable for printing photos. So I print mine off, and then I have a frame, and I do 8.5 by 11, so like a standard size piece of paper.
I miss Costco printing.
Oh my God, I miss Costco printing so much.
It was so cheap. It was like 10 cents for a 4x7.
Yeah, it was so inexpensive. The London Drugs, the stuff's really good quality though too, which is nice. And then I just basically go on and I go somewhere between like Pinterest and Google and kind of decide like what vibe I want, like colors. And this year we did the whole like pick a word. And I usually do it in like quadrants. So it's like one quadrant will be overwhelmed. One of which is like overwhelmed.com. I just overwhelmed the label. I just realized that's like our it's our website where we have different products and stuff like that we sell and that we make and design. And then I have like a corner for Burnt Out Perfectionist. And then I have one for like kind of like fashion things that I want to like accomplish, like, I don't know, meal planning or making extra food so I have food to bring here, because I'm really bad about remembering to make myself lunch in the morning. But my kid sure as hell has lunch every single day. And then the bottom half is kind of like additional like goals or hobbies and stuff like that I had. That's how I split mine up. How do you do yours?
I usually go on Pinterest and I just take a bunch of like photos that I see that like have aspects of what I want to get more into. I try to make them like I make it more like I use mine as a desktop wallpaper because I find that if it's on my wall, I look at it and I'm like,
I put mine literally everywhere except for my phone background because I feel like half of it gets blocked by the time and shit. So like I put mine as my desktop background, and my most of the time like my Google Chrome layout will be the same colors and you would have that as background.
I would say mine's usually like extracurricular based. So outside of like work and like what I want to do when I'm home versus I try to stay away from like the style perspective and stuff like that because then I'll be like, oh my god, I want this, and then I put it on, I'm like, wow, no. Um, and I'm trying to think of what else. Like mine's very like simple and colorful, so I want to get more into baking and like crocheting and stuff like that and those types of hobbies, which then help with like the everyday. But yeah. I was like, I wish I've seen a lot of people put it into quadrants, like I know Remy and Alicia would, and I've always like gone to put it in quadrants and then been like quadrant outside of work, and then it's like a singular picture, and I'm like, well, let's just strip that back.
Oh, that's the whole thing. Is like I just try to. I think it's the way my brain works. Ever since they taught us in school, when you were like making stories or when you needed to like think, you would have like the main bubble of whatever you were thinking of, and then have like the bubbles that were connected that went off of it.
Yeah.
That's how my brain works. That's literally how I plan it out. And like to me, it's like, okay, so this is here. Like these are the things that I want. These are the things I need to remember for this is here. And then like the one side, if not like this year, it's like the business things are on the left hand side and then the other stuff are on the right hand side. And I try to make it like not like lofty, I'm going to completely change my life type goals, but also I could completely change my life. Like things that seem simplistic and easy so I don't get quite literally overwhelmed when I'm looking at it, being like, oh my God. And it's not like I'm just like making it too easy because there's things on there that I may not do, but my goal is to either do them or start doing them or move in the direction of it.
I also find that I try to have goals, like quick goals within the other goals, like not having like, say if I wanted to get like crocheting, I'm not gonna be like, I want to make an entire duvet crochet set.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I want to make a new granite square. Okay, done, completed.
That's the whole thing is it's like you want to set goals, but you don't want to set like lofty goals, I guess. Like I don't want it to be my entire personality is Lego. I love doing Lego, but I want to take that time to like sit and put it together and find different building block sets. Not even just like I love Lego so much, but even if I just find like other ones, like there's tons of other brands out there that are very similar, and just like taking that time to like put it together and have that little extra thing to do, which is fun versus being like, I'm going to go completely bankrupt buying the newest set of Lego.
They get pricey.
They do get pricey, and I understand why. Like, you click some of that shit together, it ain't coming apart. But also, like, do I need 80 pounds of Lego flowers around my house? No, I do not. But did I see that cute-ass thing where that girl did that thing with the frame? And she took, like, it's almost like a half vase or, like, a half, I think some people are using them for, like, fish bowls or whatever. And then you glue it to the frame with the back, and then you put the Lego flowers in it, so it's like bundled flowers on the wall.
My brain thought that the vase
Yeah.
was Lego too. But I know what you're talking about though. Like they have like it's like planters on the wall. That could be cute, but I find sometimes like those ones, mine just yeeted off my nightstand.
Okay, but that was my whole plan of, oh my God, that's so cute. But then a piece of wood yeeted itself off the wall, and it was this cute fucking decor thing I had that was solid wood that I got from the Dollarama. Has this cute little like fairy and moon thing. I was like, oh my God, I love it. I was literally taking my daughter's hockey bag outside, and I closed the door, not even aggressively. My husband's like, I don't even know how this happened. And he heard this thunk noise. And then our kid was like, "Ah," and like so much that it hurt where she was making no noise. And then we ended up going to urgent care. So I guess we're just kind of going straight into the friggin' The good and the bad.
The survive and thrive?
Yeah, the survive and thrive of this week. My poor little girl went to urgent care. She got a badass goose egg on the back of her head. So I'm constantly contemplating now, like, what is sharp, pointy, and too heavy to be on the wall? Even though it's been up for 2 years or longer on the wall, maybe I should look at removing some of it.
Maybe it's just like the location. Like maybe someplace that like
This was like along the stairs. And like I get compliments where people are like, I love your collage of frames with like all the pictures that goes down the stairs. They're so cute. And I collected them. Like they were I didn't buy them all at once. Like these are all like frames I got from like the clearance section at freaking like Winners, Marshalls, and Home Sense, and I maybe paid $2 or $3 for them. So
I think you've talked about wanting to like change the colors.
I wanted to either change the color scheme of them or even just change the photos in them. And there's a lot of people who are like, oh my God, I love that. I never thought of doing that. I'm like, I don't know. I just saw it and like thought it was a good idea. And then I started randomly adding other things. And then one of those other things yeeted itself off the wall. So maybe not.
And what is your thrive of the week?
My thrive of the week. I had something. Oh, this is like nerdy, but like I've had not one, but two content creators that I really appreciate and really like. Literally not even just like things, but actually have like mini conversations with them. And I just thought that was super cool. Like it's just fun. One's Carrie Dayton and one is Taylor King. And I really appreciate them. They're like comfort content where you can like put them on when you're cleaning or like yesterday was a very extreme day. I'm not going to go into like details, but like in our area, it was very interesting. And I really needed to just like chill and turn off my brain and not think of something. So I put on Carrie's like vlog and I was like, thank you so much for making my Monday better. She's, oh my God, you put tears in my eyes. Thank you so much. And because I've watched her content for years, I literally like read it in like their voice back to me when I'm hearing it in my head. I'm like, oh, that's just so nice. But yeah. I know this kind of some people might think it's cheesy or whatever, but I think I might move into like actually writing stuff down. Like what Alicia did with like her like vision board inside her journal thing and then writing down like 3 things like a day or whatever because I honestly forget. And it's not that I'm like ungrateful, but sometimes we go to do this and I'm like, I was really stoked today that Eve got me a ginger molasses cookie and a pink drink. And that just sounds like kind of like commercial, like I'm selling Starbucks, but like I really appreciated that. You know how nice it is to be woken up and just to be told to roll over, you bitch, and look at what I got you.
Actually, let's just preface this as Sarah and her kids slept over last night and we don't have a guest room. So she shares a bed with me. My niece sleeps on the couch that I like made as a chaise kind of vibe. And so she got up with her kids to get her ready for school. And I came upstairs like an hour later. I just didn't want to get up. And I walked upstairs and Sarah was not in the living room. And I was like, oh, this is rude. Where are you? And I see that our mom's door's closed. So she's asleep in our mom's bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, okay. Go sit on the couch. And I'm like, you know what? Our mom last night was like, well, we're going to stop at Starbucks. And I was like, well, I want Starbucks.
Oh, yeah. Anytime my kid stays over, my mom drives her. My mom conveniently ends up having to go to Tim Hortons, McDonald's, or Starbucks. Just so conveniently.
Such an issue. And which I'd like to state that she sleeps over maybe like once every like 3 to 4 months.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, man, I really want something. I'm like, so I went on. If you're in BC, like in a city-esque area, use Uber. It's
Uber
great.
Eats. Oh my God. Uber Eats is like, this is not sponsored at all, but Uber Eats, if you want to sponsor us, I have literally changed so many people over from Skip the Dishes and DoorDash to Uber Eats because the reliability and the amount of communication you get from an Uber Eats driver and the fucking deals they have, it's like literally utterly ridiculous. Like every single time you can have at least like 4 or 5 at a time, buy one get one free, and they're not as like extravagantly priced, I found, as other food things. And the other thing I really like is you tip after you get the food. And I don't know if that's a specific setting for Uber Eats Canada, but like sometimes you have someone who just like makes your fucking day and you want to give them that extra little bit. and they're just like the sweet person, and they come up, or you see like someone's grandma and it's like, I hope you have a wonderful day, or they write something cute, or we've had people who've added on, like if we've gotten like McDonald's or something, they add on like the extra ice cream thing. You're like, oh my God, that's so nice. Like, thank you so much. I'm going to keep these coupons that don't expire in my friggin' purse and one day like get ice cream for my kid. And you want to add that extra bit, but you like can't, at least with our restrictions with other services, you can't. So I love like being able to give that person the extra chance. Also, their fees are so much less.
Yes.
So much less. Like, it's kind of ridiculous.
So I ordered Starbucks to the house because it's like in the negatives today. And I was like, I walk in and Sarah's curled up in the bed and I'm like, take the blanket off. I'm like, hey, like, get up. It's 10. No, it's cold. I was like, get up. It's 10. So then I took all the blankets off and I was like, roll over, bitch. I handed it to her. It was great. Little Starbucks in the morning.
Oh, so great. And there's nothing better than a warmed ginger molasses cookie. I don't care what fucking time of year it is. I am a hoe for a ginger molasses cookie.
My survival of the week was yesterday. Period. Literally, every time, it was such a I was just done. Every time I went to go have a shower, something else happened, and it was getting closer to my house. And I was like, wow, this is great. So I had a hair mask in for 3.5 hours because I thought I was going to have a shower. Yes, I use a hair mask before I have a shower.
There's lots of people who do that, actually.
I had told our mom, can you please just get McDonald's for dinner? I do not want to deal with food. She walked in, I looked at her and I said, I am so sorry. I'm going to eat this and I'm going to go have a shower. I'm overdone. I'm stimulated. I'm done. Good day. And I had a shower. It was great. I feel a lot better. I might have one today too. Because I was just like, I'm so done. My fur though. And my hair's really soft.
I'm going to touch it now. Oh, it's very soft. You always have very soft, shiny hair, though. Like, your hair's obnoxiously shiny.
Yeah, I can bleach it. And it's still like, good morning. My other thrive is, I saw the Bills in Cheapskate.
Oh, nice.
On the TV. To the Buffalo Bills. Hello you.
To the NFL.
Hello you. And I went over to my friend's place with her little family, and we watched the game. And honestly, I was like kind of cheering for both teams. I like both teams.
Yep.
And I was so happy that it was so much better than the Commanders and the Eagles.
My God, that guy's fucking face, though, when they lost was the saddest thing I've ever seen.
Josh Allen?
Yeah.
How many he goes?
He did that before his speech, and then you see him on the sidelines, and he's just like the biggest like puppy dog face.
But it was like close.
But not like sometimes when they like lose and they like lose their shit and they're kind of scary.
Yeah.
This guy, just look on his face, is like so close. Damn it.
I think though, like, I really enjoy games like that, like for the championship that's close. Like, I was talking to my friend's husband, and I was like, it really bugs me when it's, like, a blowout.
Oh,
because I'm like, you're supposed to be, like, the best of the best in your division. And it's like, I'm sorry, no, and that's seriously. Eagles versus Commanders, it should not have been 55 to, 23.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, excuse me? What is this?
No, it needs to be, like, that's the whole thing, is it? You want it to be like, it's a lot more fun to watch a ping pong type match.
Yeah.
Or one like kind of get ahead a little bit more and then one come back. But like, you don't always want to watch, the Disney triumphant return of the underdog type thing, because it's like, I've already zoned out of the game.
Like, I like to watch it when it's like, you have that like one-offs that's like, oh, that's a really cool play. And like,
I live for celebration dances. I'm not going to lie. That's a huge thing that makes me giggle.
I get to a point, though, with some of them that I'm like, okay, guys, I understand you slapped the ball out of someone's hand and, like, you tackled them. Congratulations. It's your job. But I don't need you to make eye contact with the camera and thrust.
Oh, no. My favorite is the guys who were doing, like, the Parent Trap handshake, and they were doing all those.
Those ones are cute. Like, when you get a touchdown, those ones are cute.
Yeah.
And, like, sacks are like when you get a good sack and people are hyped. I just mean like when somebody does something very minor in the game and if like they're just like make eye contact with the camera and they're like, and you're like, excuse me.
I'm like,
Can you play the game,
you
please?
needed to not chug that Red Bull before you went out, buddy.
Yeah. So kind of wanted it to be the Bills and the Commanders. I think it'd be fun, but I'm excited for the Chiefs to have the opportunity to have a three-peat.
I know. I was about to say to make history.
Like, I'm always good for a good history. I don't talk a lot about my opinions on football players because I just want to be cancelled. Obviously, I don't really have anything against any of them. I feel like I'm probably gonna go for the Chiefs for the Super Bowl because I just feel that way. It'd be cool for the Eagles to come back, but nothing will hit more than Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce. And like Donna Kelce with the split drip.
Yeah.
Oh, slay queen.
Oh, and that's the whole thing. Is it's so cute. But my favorite thing is they actually had someone message in a question. And they were like, "Hey, so if it ends up being the Chiefs and Eagles, like who are you going for?" And Jason's like, "Always the Eagles. That's who I played for."
But that's
Like,
what Kylie said. She's like, I'll never wear a Chiefs thing. I'll always wear like.
I know, and he's like, I mean, I'll cheer my brother on because he's my brother, but I will always cheer. I'll always want the Eagles to win over anybody. And Travis is like, nice, thank you so much. Like, just kind of like giggling, like little brother problems was like the look on his face. But it's like you get set sometimes when you have your team and you love your team, and especially since he's still a huge part of the community and everything. Like that's his jam.
I think like you could cheer for the players and not like the team, and you can cheer for the team and not like the players.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure that like if Travis wins, Jason's still gonna be happy. But if the Eagles win, still Jason's gonna be happy.
100%.
I think that's
very like just going like I'm just excited to be there and watch football.
I think a lot of people like will be like diehard like Broncos fans.
Oh, there's people who are like born into legacies, like the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah,
like stuff like
a
that.
lot of people will be like that, and like I will usually like certain teams, and then also like cheer on specific players, but I'll never be like unless it's the Saints.
The Saints will not go marching in with Eve.
It would take a lot for me to like the Saints. Like if a lot of my like top players went, I'd consider it. But just a reminder, I grew up in a Brett Favre family.
Yes.
And as you know, what I mean by Brett Favre family, you know why I don't like the Saints.
If we were a follow and love based on not just the team, but based on the coaches, based on the players, based on the camaraderie of the team.
Yes. And sometimes the color scheme.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I'm sorry, can the Miami Dolphins please be better? Because their color scheme was just so pretty.
Oh my God, that's so funny. It's like our mom's favorite football team. Ever since it was freaking Dan Marino and his isotoner gloves.
Oh my God, every time, it's just so pretty. Like, if we could make, like, those, I'd love for there to be, like, a neon, like, full neon orange team. Like, the Broncos are, like, navy.
The Cleveland Browns, they have a bright orange. At least it looks fucking bright as shit on mine.
Sometimes it's brown.
Oh.
Kind of depends. I'm tired of this, like, white and a little bit of color.
I feel so bad. Like, this is I don't know if this is a mom or an adult thing. I feel so bad for the people who wash their fucking uniforms, and most of their uniforms are white. Like, the Cowboys, the fucking grass stains and all the shit that must be in there.
Oh, no, they have, like, special machines for that. They get them dry cleaned.
I know, but dry cleaning is just clothing soup. Have you ever seen, like, stuff actually be dry cleaned? It's super gross.
I'm sorry, my favorite thing is when somebody told me that they thought that dry cleaning was just somebody who was really good at cleaning.
My mouth is gaping open, just to let everybody know.
Best thing I've ever heard.
Sorry. No, that's okay. I was like, to loop back just for a second, when it comes to super awesome uniforms, I would just like to give a shout out to the Seattle Krakens. It's the hockey team. Their fucking jerseys are amazing. I'm also a complete hoe for like teal, but the way that like the font's done and I don't know, it's pretty awesome. I love it. I know I hail from British Columbia, but I'm not the biggest fan of the Canucks jerseys. I like the old ones that they used to have with like the flying puck. Or like old school ones with the fucking hockey stick. I feel like they're waiting for a revamp. I also feel like they could have had a different artist. I just feel like it's very blocky.
I feel like I don't mind like the Canucks logo, but I feel like can we please like a lot of these logos, the mascot doesn't match.
Oh my God, that drives me. Like our local freaking WHL team that we have. The mascot, most of the mascots for the WHL don't match their uniforms or the team thing. It drives me insane.
I like also, side note, if we're going on the New Jersey train, to somebody who is now more recently getting into the PWHL, which is the Female Professional Hockey League, as they're expanding, can somebody please assist with the uniform logos? If you are listening to this and you would like assistance, happy to help. But putting the team name horizontally in yearbook solid font is not a logo.
I know I'm like, are these trial uniforms? Because like I feel like they deserve a lot more. Because just from a Canadian perspective, our women's team wins more than our men's team.
Our junior 18s won, our female junior 18s won the championship for women, and the boys didn't. So if we could please like work on the jersey thing, that would be great. Because I would happily wear merch for like the Toronto Spectres or like Ottawa or any like. I don't think we have a Vancouver team.
Not
I think we're getting one.
Apparently we're getting one.
Like those ones, happy to support. But if I can look at it and I can easily make it on my Cricut, I'm going to be a little sad about it, okay?
I know. I'm just like, I saw them and I was like, I love the idea, I love everything behind it. I want to fix the uniforms.
Like the color scheme's even better.
One of the teams though has like the same color scheme as the Lakers.
Are you talking about basketball or hockey?
I'm talking about hockey, the PWHL. There's one of them that
There's
has
the
yellow
LA
and purple
Sparks.
jerseys.
There's the LA Sparks, but no, that's
Oh.
basketball. Sorry, bit of a rant with the NFL.
No, it's fine.
All of these sports.
I was like, well, see how much we get.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of these things, you kind of see them and you think that you can fix them.
What was your positive thing?
My positive thing was my hair was soft and that the Chiefs were getting in. I was really happy that I saw good football.
I was worried for a minute that I like started talking about uniforms and I cut you off from saying the happy thing.
Oh no, I literally said you finished and I was like waiting for you to ask me and I was like, well, my survive was gifter day. No, I said that like I'm excited for the Chiefs and then I led to the uniform thing.
Yeah, we don't need to be like mean to be like ominous about what happened yesterday, but it's like very specific to the area that we live in. And it was pretty fucking terrifying. For hours.
Also just like don't want to like misconstrued information delivery.
Oh hell no.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, no thank you.
So with the like I feel like the trends, the vibes.
You sound like a grandma. Like, I went to the Walmarts today.
I am a grandma. Okay. We find that like a lot of things to do with manifestation is like a big word. Like, you know when words, like, you hear it and you're like, oh, that's a big word. It's not really a big word, but like...
Well, it's like a cat. It's one of those words that people use as like a catch-all word.
Yeah.
So they make it like applicable to so many things. Like if you go get a lottery ticket and you're like, I'm going to hold it close to my heart or put it in this wallet. Some people may say superstition. It's like, I feel like sometimes there's a line between manifestation and superstition. Not like we're experts on this at all. There's other people who decide to like rock out with their crystals out. You thought I was going to say cock, didn't you? Mm-hmm.
No, I just felt like I got a burp.
Oh, rock out with like crystals, or they have like specific routines that they do. Prayer. There's some people who like lean into like, I don't know, like the Christian prayer side. And then there's other people who think that manifestation is a witch thing, is like a Wiccan thing. And some people lean away from it because they're like, oh, well, like you don't have a way of controlling your future. I don't think positive thinking is a negative thing.
I think manifestation is just the conscious thought process of completing goals that you hope to complete.
100%. Like if you're like, I want to, like for us, we want to revamp our website. We're adjusting the products that we're going to be doing. We're getting samples and we're approaching things in a different way than what we have in the last like couple of years. And why not? And adjusting our mindset. So again, it's not, we talked about it a lot in the last episode. It's less like hyperventilating about like a launch. And that's the whole thing is I found a lot of people too are changing the verbiage. You know how like girl boss and all the live, laugh, love, all the other stuff has kind of like moved away instead of launch. I was really hoping it was going to come to me as soon as I was going to say it, but I saw someone else say instead of launch, they called it an update or an upload, or like they used something that was less official because it made them almost like anxious or like freak out.
I think like with the first couple of years, so like a lot of the manifestation that I've been kind of associating with for the business is like we were comparing when we did our first business shoot or 2-3 years ago. I can't remember for sure, but we had kind of set it up. We made this like, I think there was over 400 pins and they were all the same thing.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what happens when you and I are on the same freaking internet too. Our algorithms are very similar. And then we're both adding pins. And then we looked and we're like, we could delete half these because half of them are doubled.
Well, and like the first time we did it, it was like plain t-shirts.
Yeah.
Standing up. And it was like, you could see that both of us were like, what are we doing?
We were like extremely uncomfortable. My husband had grabbed me a ring light for, was it Christmas or my birthday? It was like for fun. It was really during the pandemic and I kind of played around with stuff before, but we didn't want to take pictures outside, which we still haven't really done because that's hard for lighting. And also we're in Canada. We get like 4 seasons. So like you could go outside and it could just be windy as fuck, no matter what the weather is. So sometimes it's just not possible. And like lip gloss looks really good in pictures, but does not work well with wind. Hair.
So like we set it up and I remember we did this in the corner. And like it's fun to think about now because like we set it up in the corner and it was like, oh, okay. And we took maybe 200 photos.
It was maybe like, it was giving like Sears at home, but fun vibes.
Yeah. And it was like, okay, we did it. And it was like the whole time it's like, I don't know how to hold my body. I don't know how to
hold my face.
Oh my God. And it was like, how do I do makeup for this?
Yeah.
And like the whole time it was like, we didn't change outfits. We had those ones. And then we had like random blazer pictures that I was like, oh my God, professional.
Oh yeah, because we were like, we should put these on. We had shirts. Like I genuinely just look uncomfortable in my body. Like, I don't know if it was like just like everything because I was like, I feel awkward or whatever. And then I was trying to remember things that like my friend taught me because she used to do photography and things that I've learned in like all the weddings that I've been in. Like when you're in a wedding, there's standard poses and faces that they want you to make. At my friend's wedding, who was doing photography, she did funny things like yell inappropriate words or got us to like blow bubble gum or make silly faces and like want it to be more unique and like more candid. So I was trying to like, I was like very in my head with like all those types of directions because I didn't have someone yelling the directions at me.
And then it was like, oh, I gotta make sure I put fake nails on and fake eyelashes.
Yeah, what the fuck was with that? First off, just to let everybody know, we're not rubbing anybody's faces. We were both born with luscious, long-ass, dark lashes. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe I have to get like lashes for this shoot. So this isn't the first one. This is the second one. Later, it's the second one. And my husband burst out laughing. He's like, you guys literally put mascara on. You guys look like mascara commercials. Like people are like, that's fake. And I was like, well, I know somebody like doesn't show up in photos. And he pulls up pictures of me and goes, do you look like you have no lashes in these photos? And he's like, you're not even wearing fucking makeup in this one. And I was like, that's a good point. I did put nail stickers on my nails.
That's different though. I mean like the chunky fake nails that
are
slouching.
But they're also not us. Like,
yeah.
I used to be a nail girl. I was a hardcore nail girl with like fun fucking designs. I had a set appointment. I was in the salon like every 4 to 5 weeks. Like I lived that life. And I am not that girl anymore. And I don't know why I was trying to like, I think that was the other thing is I was like, one of mine like popped off or whatever. And I was like, oh my God. Or if it's like because I'm a cool tone, pale ass girly, it was like a little bit too orange, but I was like, I'll probably won't show up on photos. It didn't because we used more of like a warm ring light. But still, like just like those little things. Like you said, we made it very like plain Jane, almost like model. Like when Tyra Banks was interviewed, I remember this like a long time ago. She was interviewed by, I want to say it was like Rosie O'Donnell, like a random like talk show host that isn't around now as a talk show host. And Tyra was like, yeah, you get like a really good, like well-fitting pair of jeans. And she would go get like the boys' tank tops before she's like, before my boobies got big. She'd go get like the Hanes undershirts, and like you'd wear something like that because you want it to be plain. You want like your hair back or your hair very simple. You don't want anything super complicated. And you kind of either want like little to no makeup or like full beat type of thing. And I kind of always go through that in my head. And that's literally where I was like, oh, I'll just get basics.
So that was the first one. And then the second one, I feel like we were like, okay, well, we were too plain Jane the last one. We need every single prop we could possibly have. We need this, you need this, we do this. And it was great. Yet again, we didn't change outfits. We didn't do this. We didn't change our hair.
I think we changed our outfits like 3 times. And the only time we changed our hair is when both of us were like, I'm fucking so done with my hair being down, because I get like that spider web sensory feeling of like, it just like when your hair goes across your face and you're wearing lip gloss, like it's just like, ugh, get it off my neck. So I remember like throwing my hair up. Our outfits were cute, but they were very like, because it was fucking like 40 degrees outside when we were doing this, we were taking pictures and we were dressed for that kind of weather because it was colorful and fun and nice.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, we love those pictures, but like I was chopping some of those photos and like trying to use that for thumbnail pictures because we weren't taking thumbnail pictures at that time. And we were kind of moving into the YouTube thing. And I was like, I'm wearing fucking overall shorts in this picture. Like,
it's -15 outside.
It's -15 outside. Like, this is not rolling. Like, what could we do where it would be logical? And we decided to.
So then this year, so a week ago, we split it over 2 days. I was like, I have time off. I think we need to just like do like a professional by professional. I just mean like more put together.
Yeah.
And then a more casual, candid one. And so we split it over 2 days. And we got like 4,000 pictures.
Yeah.
And we were like, the other thing is that I realized I was going through the old pictures and although we were in the same picture, we didn't interact with each other at all.
No, I know, because I feel like because we were both uncomfortable, or we both didn't like understand like what kind of things we wanted to do.
And so like versus now it was like this last one, I feel like it was like, oh, okay, let's see if this looks okay. And like I had the clicker for it and I was like pumping out like as many photos as possible. And I was like, oh, okay. But it was a lot more like chill.
I feel like it was like the best observation I could think of when I was looking at the pictures was it looked like Charlie or Ben came in and were taking pictures of us, like just like hanging out. And even when I was going through the pictures, because I was trying to think of like a new podcast thumbnail, because I just threw something together for I hit the microphone. I threw something together for the beginning of the year just because I knew we were anticipating doing like this shoot and stuff like that. And my daughter was like, can I learn how to do Canva? And she's 8. So I was just like, yeah, sure. So I taught her like what a brand kit was. It was very like brief, but like just so she kind of understood like what colors we were going for. And I was like, oh, here's the pictures, and like got her to go through the pictures. She's like, oh, these are so much fun. These are super fun. Oh, Mom, you should like wear this color. Oh, Mom, look how cute Auntie Eve looks. Like stuff like that. So she was just like smiling, looking through the pictures. And I was just like, yeah, like we look like we're having fun. We look like we're hanging out, which is how we want people to feel when they're listening to the podcast. It's like, you're just hanging out with 2 sisters. You're hanging out with 2 friends. And we're just like chill, talking about life, talking about different subjects. Like, you know what I mean?
I find too, I feel like the development from each of them, like last year when we did our like anti-resolution, I was like, I need to be more comfortable talking, but also like being in photos.
Yeah.
Because I was so terrified of like, if I move my head the wrong way, people are going to see the rest of my face. And it's going to be like this horrible thing. And I'm like, oh my God, And now it's like, you kind of get to the point now that it's like, I feel like last year I was very like, I want to be more comfortable. I want to learn how to make more content and stuff like that. End of the year, did great. And like stuff like that, like be more comfortable in bringing that back into my life so it's not like a job. It's like for fun.
And that's the whole thing is like, I think we very much came into like, we started with like, we're going to change the world mindset, which is super cool to have. But like when you have it to such an extreme, you kind of put yourself into this boat of like disappointment if certain things like don't happen. And we're like, wait, like, what do you love to do? Well, I love to do this for fun. Oh, I love to do this for fun. I have fun doing this. Oh, yeah, like this kind of complements like a goal I have personally for myself. Or like Eve was like, I want to draw more. I want to do more stuff like that. And of course, then that Mel like overwhelmed became like a little bit more her thing than my thing. Like I still love things, still had opinions, would still put ideas out there, but there was a lot more like execution when it came to her for stuff like that. Versus like Burnt Out, I was like, oh, I listen to a ton of podcasts all the time. I do all this other stuff. And it was like, yeah, like I feel like this one kind of leans more into you. Like they're both of us, but one of us kind of stands out more, which is what we talked about in our last episode, how we kind of made that decision instead of bouncing back and forth. And I think that was a big thing. Like, we actually look like we're having fun. We actually look like the sisters that we are for people who, like, know us. And we have lots of different options for, like, some thumbnails and stuff. I will be taking some, like, candid ones so that way, you know, different outfit changes. We will be wearing blankets until it is fucking spring equinox.
I need to do more like insulation down here.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of those like where like you see like the TikTok like trends of being like, oh, like we talked about like the print on demand or
Yeah.
all of those that it's like you do this. And a lot of like starting off like a podcast and a business is so much paperwork, but like digital paperwork, like documents.
Yeah.
And so you kind of fall into this like putting yourself into a category because it's like, well, I have to, for one.
And not every category is the same when you're filling out like the government paperwork or a bunch of the other ones. Like there's specifically even for YouTube, there's only 8 categories for YouTube.
And like
I think it's 8. It's like 8 or 10. And there's not one that is podcast. Like you can specifically designate your channel as a podcast channel or playlist as a podcast playlist, but you can't list yourself. It'll be like personal and blogs or whatever. So which is what I originally had it as because I was like, oh, well, like that makes sense. I changed it to entertainment and we have gained so many listeners who are like, oh, like this is like funny, like kind of looking outside of that perspective of what you thought it would be and making those adjustments like on the fly. Like I'll make a note, like change it on this date, see if something else changed, if we ended up getting more traction and seeing people or like adjusting things because there's not like a set formula. Things change all the time. I know people talk about like algorithm changes, but also I found that like you have to like wait it out with some of them. And the interactive kind of candid content of just like us being us instead of having it like set up and be pretty, like me just like looking like a bum as I stay with like no makeup, even my hair is like messy and I need to obviously have a shower and a baggy sweatshirt and doing like a TikTok video just because that is relatable, that's fun, and I want to do that at that moment instead of like forcing myself to like get ready and then like do it because I almost feel like awkward, like just choosing, just like do the thing. Don't overthink it, which is, I felt like there was a lot of overthinking in the first bit, which is understandable because there's a lot of, ironically, like overwhelm when it comes to like, all of a sudden you find out someone's like, oh my God, you don't have blah, blah, blah. And you're like, what the fuck? I was supposed to get that.
yeah.
I was supposed to get this. Like, oh yeah, by the way, this accidentally happened. So, and now you need to have this. You're like, wait, why? And there's no, I know our government used to have this, like, it was usually called One Stop. It was the best thing ever. And it would walk you through every single thing that you needed. And then they separated it because they had some things that landed under like provincial jurisdiction and some things that landed underneath national jurisdiction. And it just became even more complicated and like things to be missed. And Eve and I are very much like rule followers to the point of like you're terrified when you do your taxes kind of a thing. So there's a lot when it comes to that and just kind of like lending light to that. I feel like the second one we started getting a lot more comfortable We also started doing like podcast outlines more. It became like more of a regular basis. We started recording more.
I think like when we first started too, like I remember when we were sitting down and I was like, so like what are we like what's our thing?
Yeah.
And I'm like, because we tried about before, like Sarah wanted to start a podcast.
Yeah.
Wanted to just start a podcast.
I was gonna be like, do you wanna roll that again?
When we were talking about starting a podcast, Sarah was like, well, I've been thinking about other things. There's different names being thrown out. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm happy to do a podcast with you. My only requirement is that it's called Burnt Out Perfectionist.
And I was like, I love it.
The one name that I was like, this needs to happen. Thank you. And like, what's our vibe? What's our thing? And the first year, I remember like made the cover art, and I was like, okay, this seems cool. And it, like the whole time, I was like, you just like you feel like you're a different person.
Yeah.
It's like you're manifesting for all of these things. And then I remember, I think it was like last November, and I sat there and I was like, no, it would have been September. I was like, man, I know. I just
like,
don't.
You're like, I feel like we've grown past this. I'm going to start working on other things. And I would like other things, meaning like a different look and stuff like this. Cause I feel like it's not like representing us. Like before it was like starting gears. And then you made the one where it was like us as like cartoons at the back of us, which is like the season 2 cover art, which I do really like. I think it's super cute. And we kind of went with like a theme, but then we were like, I feel like we've like changed and moved on from there. And I feel like both of us are moving out of we've been very gray, very black, very neutral colors because it makes your life easier. And every once in a while throwing like a pop in color, whether it's lipstick colors or what we're wearing, wardrobe, or like decor and stuff like that. And I feel like we've moved a lot more into like, I don't know if it's because it's been like so many years since like dad died, but it's like we're like taking out things about ourselves.
We're getting our pink back.
Oh my god, I love her. I love her so much.
I feel like I know that one's just like if you've heard getting your pink back, it's like I can't remember what the creator's name is. I'm very sorry. Allison. I know she did that, but also there's another one.
Oh, there was another person who did it who she
marketed.
Allison quoted this person. She quotes her every single time.
Oh my gosh, she has beautiful hair. She has like olive skin and bright bluey green eyes.
Oh yeah,
God, she's a model.
I'm gonna go.
She has. It's not Bush's mom.
I don't think so.
She has, I think, a couple kids, and she impersonates, like she'll do like my 2-year-old versus my 6-month-old, and
Lindsay Girk.
And I remember I heard that, and I'm not a mom, and it's like a flamingo loses its color because it gives all the food to their baby, and then once it starts to feel itself, then it gets its pink back. We gotta come up with one for like. I know.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I went on the website getyourpinkback.com because they have a Valentine's Day sale, and I was like, I'm gonna click on it because they have a varsity style one, and I'm like, I love myself a varsity style like bomber or something like this. And I scroll down, and it's like, what's our story, Lindsay here? And it shows her. I wish I could wear a crew neck, have my hair down, and put a toque on, and look this like casual, but just fucking glowing, and like the brightness, and like you can like feel the happiness coming through this photo, and it's not like fake. Meanwhile, this is just like probably because I do not do well with proportions. I buy my clothes like very large, but I feel like if I did something like this, I always end up looking like a homeless person, or I look like Bobby Jean, that guy's like little sister who comes and hangs out with the whole team, and she's just like living her best life, but she's like 10 years old and awkward. Like that's generally what I look like, but again, that's probably due to like proportions or just even like perspective on myself, which I'm always just trying to like be more positive about stuff like that. But like she's so happy. Like this photo just like brings warmth to my soul.
So nice. We gotta think of one for like dead parent. Like as somebody who like loses someone and then like you get your color back. Because I think that like if you listen to our episode from last year,
I was about to go, someone's like, what the fuck? Were you guys talking about a dead parent? This is so depressing.
So last year we went into kind of how our dad died and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And as much as like we have been like functioning
we're functioning members of society. But I think, like, he had a lot of hits, though. Like, our dad passed away. Our family dog passed away just before that. Also, we were both diagnosed with ADHD.
I was graduating college.
Yeah. So, like,
Um,
big life change.
it was during the pandemic. So I was doing online school. I was diagnosed with ADHD in that May.
Yeah.
My hemochromatosis did a full flip.
Yeah.
And I was very anemic. It was a lot.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, is it was a lot kind of at once. Like, I've always been, my career is usually driven in, like, the tech sector when it comes to, like, data analytics and quality assurance, stuff like that, and project management, actually. But then I was, like, unexpectedly let go from the position that I had, which kind of felt like this, like, really great thing to get because it was remote. It worked with the stuff so I could still support our brother. And it just felt like such a huge win. And it was at the end of the year that our dad passed away. And I think it just made, like, a difference. And then having that taken away, 2 weeks before that happened, I was diagnosed with ADHD. And it was just kind of, like, lost in so many different levels. Like, you're, like, the loss of the parent, but just, like, feeling lost as, like, an individual. But you still need to be that, like, stable rock for, like, other people. Like, you still go about and do your day, but you're constantly just trying to, like, I don't know, figure out, like, where you land and where, like, you can evolve to. And I think that I've always said it takes about 3 years for someone to kind of cycle through, at least I found, and come to, like, I call it the happy place of grief, or just, like, the understanding of grief. We've always made kind of, like, jokes, which if you're sensitive, you may not like some of our jokes that we make. It'll be like, oh, well, someone will be like, oh my God, my day was so hard. Oh my God, blah, blah. And they, like, relate it to something. And it's that person who continuously complains about, like, my coffee is wrong or anything like this. And you know for a fact that there's nothing else, like, crazy going on in their life. And you just look at them and you go, they'll be like, oh yeah, but, you know, my dad came over. I'm like, yeah, that must be nice.
I think, like, I would say, like, obviously the instances we talk about was over the past, like, 4 years. I think that, like, I also was entering adulthood. I just realized that.
I know, like, you, to me, had a lot more, like, milestones and life things that kind of came up, and they all came like a motherfucking freight train.
Kind of. And I think, like, I know, like, I've seen a lot of people when they do, like, podcasts and they're like, tell me, like, how you got to this point. Like, when did you reach the point that you knew that you needed a change? I don't feel like we ever was like, I don't feel like we were ever, like, at the point of end. Like,
No.
we didn't hit rock bottom. Bro, Jesus, can I speak today?
Do you take your meds? Because I took mine right before I came downstairs.
We didn't hit rock bottom, or, like, we wouldn't consider it rock bottom.
Yeah.
I just remember, like, 2020, we were, like, on TikTok more. 2021, we were just kind of, like, floating through life.
Yeah.
And it was never, like,
I don't know why, I just
dancing through life.
I heard Jonathan Bailey going, floating through life.
And we just, like, I feel like we were on different islands. Like, the whole family was on different islands.
We were all in, like, the islands where we're like, shall we connect and become one united country, or shall we all just float and stare at each other?
And, like, it wasn't, like, fighting. It was literally, like, all of us were like, okay, processing. And then I'd say, like, last year, beginning of the year, it kind of felt the same again. And then it was, like, September, it was like, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, because Sarah had talked about wanting to do a podcast, like, forever. And she was, like, manifesting this, like, sick board. I was hoping to make a logo. I'm like, this is great. We're going to do great. And then I just remember this call. I'm going to call you out. I got a call from her and she was like, what if I'm not interesting enough? And I was like, what?
Yeah, you're like, we literally send voice memos back and forth all the time. Well, like, what if it's not just, like, me? Like, I was listening to, I have a friend who's had a couple different podcasts. I was talking to him and he was walking me through, like, all the the stuff that like he used for, like, we use RSS feed. He used a different program. I can't remember what it was called. But he was walking me through being a great, awesome, supportive friend. And then I was like, what happened? He's like, what are you talking about? Like, people always came to your desk and talked to you at work and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, but I feel like I need the camaraderie of like somebody. And I was just like, he was like, okay, well, like, I always had extra hosts because I never wanted to just be like this person by myself. And I was like, yeah. And then he's like, well, would you do one with your husband? And I was like, well, I don't know if that'd be something that he'd be like interested in. Like, and I remember talking, and then I looked at Ben and I was just like, I don't know, like, he's like, babe, I think he would be like, he's always like, yeah, I think he'd be the best at every single thing. And that is one thing that I love very much about Ben. Like, you're gonna be great at this. Like, he gets all excited. Like, oh, I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm a support worker for my brother. And he's like, she also has a podcast and a website with her sister. Like, he's that husband. And he looks at me and he goes, why don't you do it with Eve? And I was like, what? And he goes, there's nothing funnier than when you're laying on the couch listening to those voice memos you guys send back and forth, or Snapchats or whatever, especially during the pandemic, because like you couldn't be, a lot of the times there's regulations about like what household and stuff like that you could be in. And he's like, I'm dying fucking laughing at the shit that you guys talk about, because it could be the easiest thing in the whole world. You're like, I just don't want to do it. Or, bitch, this is what you're going to do. And he's like, I feel like a lot of people could benefit because not everybody has grown up with sisters. Not everybody has those kind of relationships or friendships or whatever. He goes, I think it would be good. And I was like, I don't know if she'd do it.
I think with a lot of it too, like, for us, the podcast was a manifestation thing. The business is a manifestation thing.
Yeah.
This can be applied to like anything you want to do in your life.
100%.
And like, I, hand in my heart, never thought that I was ever going to do a podcast. As you've probably heard before, I know it sounds self-doubting. I hate the sound of my own voice because I think everybody tells me that I sound so calming, and I'm like, no, I don't.
That's okay. I've been told that I sound like Minnie Mouse.
Really?
What did somebody tell me? I sounded like one person was like, oh, you sound like, oh, there was a DJ. It was not the DJ that you're thinking of. It was a different DJ at my sister-in-law and brother-in-law's wedding. And he's like, you sound like a hot Minnie Mouse. Like a teacher, Minnie Mouse. And I was like, okay, cool, thanks, bud.
But I think that like those types of things for me were like, I'm not starting a YouTube channel. That sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
And I was like, podcast is okay. Like, I took IT in high school. We can figure it out. And I remember we were going to the gym and you had talked about it more. And I do a 2-week simmer with Sarah.
Yeah.
I'll wait to see if she really wants to do it, because I'm like, it shouldn't be that expensive.
Oh, sometimes I go like full bore, like I sent it to you and Jen, where it's like you get that voice memo from your best friend or your sister who has ADHD. I'm going to change my life. Today is the day. I've written the plan. Obviously, I think a lot of people figured out that could be like not just ADHD, but also I think it's the luteal phase when you're looking at like female hormone regulation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's like you just come in like so hardcore with all these plans. You write everything down, you put that notebook down, you forget what the notebook is, and then it was like you never had that conversation. So the 2-week simmer is a solid.
The Sarah simmer pot.
Yeah.
Where you kind of just like wait a little bit. The smell starts to come. The lovely aroma.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. Because it was like the May of the year prior of like 2021. And I was like, I don't know, it's 2022. Maybe stop the podcast. 2022? 2023.
Even 2022.
It's
It was January of 2022.
Oh, okay. And I was like, okay, waiting for it. And then I was like, so like, what do you think? Like, I saw these outlines and I've started making the sound. I'm like, Simmerpot has created aroma. We are on the way. And we were at the gym and I was like, okay, I'll go buy a podcast microphone. Like,
literally, we left. Our gym is located in our local mall, and she literally left and bought one. She was like, I'm going to get this one, and grabbed it. And I was like, okay, she has full confidence in this. Okay, like, it's not that I needed justification from somebody else, but I need somebody else to be like, we can do this. And then I went home that night after we were at the thing, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I told my husband. He was like super stoked. My best friend's like, oh yeah, this is going to be awesome. Like, I would love to be a fly on the wall, and I've wanted to be one for years, and this is a great opportunity. And I was like, okay, sweet. And then I opened up my TikTok, and it was Lore DIY. comes on and goes, so just to let you know, if you've been constantly thinking about doing that project, doing that podcast, doing that YouTube channel, any of the other stuff, stop overthinking it and just fucking do it. Because you know what's going to make great content? When you've been doing this for 10 years, you're rocking and you're super fucking successful. And you can make the cringe videos watching the shit that you used to do and kind of have that good giggle and humble the shit out of yourself. Just do the thing. And I was like, it was like the final pin that I needed. And I was just like, this is my sign. This is my sign. I've been thinking about this. I've been like looking into stuff because my big thing is I will research the shit out of something and debate about it and sometimes forget about it so that way I can come back to it. Or I'll educate and go down an education rabbit hole, which will then convince me that I cannot do it. And I'm trying to not do that anymore.
And I feel like obviously podcast, the universe is listening, the internet listens and stuff like that. And like a lot of the time, like the projects like this, like people are like, is there need to be another podcast? Does this need to be another thing? And to an extent, like, how many songs are there out in the world? How many artists are there out in the world? There's a niche for everybody. And also, you don't have to niche yourself because, like, I find, like, the first couple episodes we did, I was like, I can't think of anything else to do with this topic. And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't know what else, like, and then it was like, well, let's chat about, I can't remember what else we were chatting about. We're talking about something else, and I was like, oh, okay, well, then we can chat about this. And, like, obviously you go into, like, these phases of, like, oh, but, like, I can't really come up with anything. Like, I don't really know, like, what else. But it's easy to, like, switch in between.
Also, like, not forcing ourselves to do like things that are whatever, like on trend. Like it's the more and more like being comfortable with yourself and what you're comfortable with like speaking about. So again, with like the podcast or even just in general, when you're in like a general setting, like being like, just talk. Like people want you to talk, or having the revelation when you're talking to somebody and you're like, yeah, like I'm like really hard on myself, but I just want to make sure I get out there and I'm like more social. And like one of your friends goes, bitch, you are very social. Like people love being around and listening to you. And I was like, what? And it was having that like, I wanted to not even just like that whole like say yes movement, but I wanted to say like yes to more stuff. I wanted to be like nicer to myself. I wanted to have like that extra understanding. And I feel like that last year, even like speaking with other people and being more honest, and people are like, oh my God, what? Are you delusional? Like, dude, that's even when I was like, oh, maybe I'm like masking, or you fall into like a lot of things again when you like overeducate yourself where you're just like, oh, that's because of this. It's not because I'm actually doing it. No, you could actually be doing the thing. And my husband had like a giggle, and it was on January 1st. I stood in line with 45 people to get a lotto ticket. And I know a lotto is like, some people are like, "Ah, it's just a waste of money." And I was like, you know what? I'm going to stand in line. I stand in line with my new Little Mermaid wallet that Eve got me. That's Loungefly, and I love it. And it's so cute. I'm going to stand in line. I'm going to get myself a lotto ticket. I have this like extra cash in my wallet. I'm going to get it. And you know what? Like, I believe that these tickets will be winners. Well, I got free plays on all of them. So then I took the free plays back. And I was just like, you know what? I will play these free plays. If I do not win another free play, I'm not meant to do this right now. I got 2 free plays again. I was like, okay, sweet. And he looks at me and laughs. He's like, how much are you going to win? And I was like, I'm going to win $5 million. And he goes, wow, what a random number. I'm like, no, I had a dream and I have a feeling at some point I am going to have that in my bank account in the next like couple years. And that's my number. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah. And I'm not going to be like pushing agendas. I'm only going to be supporting things that I like. And it may be the lotto or an off chance of winning something, but I just have this feeling. And he just looked at me and like smiled. He's like, oh, it's so great. He was even like, we went to Winners one day and I was like trying on stuff I would never try on, which was these really, really bright cardigans that were so cute and soft, but they were like $34. And the only reason why I didn't get it is because I was like, you know what? I don't have the money to get this right now. But like when I do, clearly this brought me joy and I put it on. I should think about getting something like this. Like,
And a lot of the time, like, I feel like people try to manifest when they're down.
yeah.
Like, they're like, I need to do this big life change to do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't have to like the same hobbies you did when you were 10.
It's like the whole like oh, I want to be like I was. Like, there's a lot of people who are moms like me who are like, I just want to be that person that I was before. I don't want to be drunk 20-year-old Sarah who's going to Denny's at 3 o'clock in the morning. Is it fun to think of that, Sarah? Sure the fuck is. Did I have an awesome time doing that? Yeah, I sure did. But it's not logical. Not because I'm not a mom, just because, like, that's not me anymore. Like, that's something that I feel I've kind of left behind. But do I still have that, like, emo, skater, punk girl in my heart? Listening to the same kind of music or buying Vans because they're comfy and fun or stuff like that. Like, yeah, I'm still at that phase and I don't really care what other people think. It's kind of like not making your life full of neutrals just because that's the trending color of the year or something. Like,
On the flip side, though, not changing your entire room every, like, month just because it's like, oh, I want a different change. Like, prepare yourself for those changes, but also, like, it's like, I always find it's like relationships. You have relationships with yourself and you have relationships with other people. If I lived my life going, man, all I want in life is a husband.
yeah.
Well, frankly, I'm not doing anything to assist with that. But it's like, why am I trying, like, my whole life, I'm wasting my whole life.
Ignoring everything else that's around, waiting or only focusing on that one thing.
Because I want a husband.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if I'm not, like, not that you have to, like, fix yourself for a man, but if I'm not comfortable in my own skin, if I'm not working on myself to be the best self that I am,
Yeah.
then, like, when I meet my future husband and it's like, hi, I like to color and I can doodle. Versus, like, oh yeah, these are all these things that I've had fun, like, accomplished and stuff like that. Like, this is the life that I lived. Actually, I've changed my perspective.
Word.
Word of the year. Of thinking, instead of being like, oh, when someone's like, oh, well, did you do anything this weekend? I've changed my perspective to going, what do I want to tell my kids one day?
Yeah.
Because if you say, like, well, obviously you have a child, but, like, if I was to say, like, oh yeah, well, what did you do in your 20s, mom, when you were in your 20s, what did you do? And if I just said, like, I sat and watched movies and hung out with my dog, which is great, love that. But if instead I was like, when I was 21, I sat down with your aunt and we made a podcast.
Yeah.
And then we started a business. And then we did this, and then we did this, and we did this. And we did all of these fun things that, like, I love and would love to pass on to you. Versus, like we were talking about, like, with your kid about her wanting to work on, like, the Canva stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, maybe one day we can make, like, a sub-podcast with her. Look, she's an adult.
Yeah.
Like, a sub-podcast with her, and then it goes from, like, it's a generational thing to, like, adding your kid, and then maybe my future child can, like, join that in and stuff like that. Like, they don't have to. Obviously not forcing anybody to do anything.
Obviously.
But, like, to create almost, like, a legacy tradition with it of, like, this is our family cookbook that we move on, that, like, in 20, 30 years, or, like, however long, when we're gone, that, like, people can be like, oh my God, I found my aunt's old record. And, like, it's like, good morning, everybody.
Yeah.
But, like, those things I find are so fun because it gets you in the mindset of, like, thinking about the future and, like, what you can kind of show off instead of being like, right now I'm sad. Like, if you don't want kids, you don't want kids. Whatever.
Oh, I don't give two fucks. I saw Reese Witherspoon state, like, I have, and I feel the same way too. She goes, I have a lot of respect for people. This is not a direct quote, but this is kind of like what I remember from it. She's like, I really respect people who say, like, that they don't want kids. And I don't see it as a diss on people who don't want kids, but, like, there's so many changes that happen in your life and with kids, and there is a lot of stress, and you have the responsibility of looking after a whole other human. And if you feel like that is not your jam or not something that you feel is conducive, it is not selfish. You're making a great choice because you could be bringing a child in and then, like, having all these conflicts and, like, having all this other shit happen. When you're consciously deciding to make that choice, that is a fantastic adult decision that you're like, you know what? Just not my thing. Okay, cool. Then that's great for you. I'm so glad that you decided that's something that is usually such a common pillar that everybody like defines everybody by, that you don't want to do that and that you're comfortable with that decision. And that's fucking amazing.
And then when you're older, what are you going to talk about at coffee with your old man crew?
Yeah.
I feel like there's so many different ways that like you can look at manifestation that's not like you can write it down.
Meditation or crystals. Like there's like you were just going to say, writing it down, or there's thinking of like the future perspective of like, when I talk to my friends in the future and I talk about all the fun things that I did, is this going to be something that's going to stick out as a fun thing, or is this thing going to stick out as that was a complete fucking pain in my ass that I did all the time?
And that's okay. And some things, like, not everything's meant to be
yeah.
perfect. If it was, you'd be burnt out.
But that's the whole thing, is like making those goals and like understanding, like me being like, I would like to be more organized. I said that, I think the first time when we started the podcast, or last year or whatever, I was like, I like to be more organized, but also like, I don't want to constantly be in that like 80s, 90s mom panic of like feeling like someone's going to run through your entire house and be like, there is a stitch of dirt in here. You are a horrible human being and like the worst mom ever. Versus, and now it's like, I don't say, oh, sorry, my house is dirty. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Or like, or maybe like, wait before you come over. I'll be like, people will come in, and if somebody actively says something, which I literally was like, oh, I'll just be like, this house is lived in and full of love. No one says anything. No one makes a face. People are like, you know what? Like, I don't even care to make like an observation with stuff like that. And that's totally fine. And it's also learning that I cannot completely reset my entire house in a weekend. That is not logical at this time.
I also feel like when you said you wanted to be more organized, that was before like we had the Google Calendar. That was before we, like, you found a container that works for your kid's lunch kit. Like the very niche things, but like it was
still
very before.
It was very like trial period before I was finding things. Also, not listening to what is trending on social media or what works for other people and taking that almost as like the word of God type of thing. And instead being like, you know what? Maybe other people don't have it this way, or it's not aesthetically pleasing to have it, but this works for me in my brain. And having it here works great. And I just need to be like, this is what works for me. And that is why that is there.
Yeah. So a lot of you like manifestation, goals, all of those types of things are very like to the person. And if you're listening to this, you might have the same perspective as us. Maybe start that podcast. Maybe start that business.
Yeah.
I think we have episodes about how we started a podcast.
We also have a really popular pin on our Pinterest.
It's a pop and pin.
It's a pop and pin.
And like, if you have any questions about like starting a podcast, like we are always on, like, anytime we have all of our notifications on, we're always down to like chat with people how we did it. Obviously ours is not the word of God. There was a lot of trial and error.
Oh yeah, no, and we're Canadian, so like it's a very different perspective than what maybe other people have been able to offer. But it's also like within our country, it's 100% different because of provincial jurisdictions and stuff like that too.
Yeah, but if you're looking into like what we do to set up all of those types of things, we have resources on our podcast Pinterest, but also on the blog we've talked about kind of what we use and stuff. But yeah, let us know what you think.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know your goals. What do you consider manifestation, and what makes you feel powerful with it?
Totally. And then just kind of finish out like the theme of the year. We decided this year that we were going to have a theme song. So we threw some words together and put it through a little AI generation there, because fortunately we don't know anybody who's musical at this time to be able to like produce and do that whole thing. So we did that, and we've had 4 different options. Each has an intro and an outro. It's just the same song. It's just the way I cut it and split it. So if you can head over to our TikTok, but I will also do a quick little blurb. In between, we have option 1, option 2, option 3, and option 4. And tell us which one you like the best. Comment on any socials or any of the kind of like platforms and stuff like that we're on, and we would greatly appreciate hearing from you. If not, we are just going to pick one. But we just wanted to allow everybody to have a choice.
And thank you for joining us during the first month of the year of 2025.
For the first year
The first month. So sorry. I swear I'm caffeinated. Thank you for spending January with us. We are officially 1 month down in 2025.
Heck yes.
We got 11 more to make it the best year.
Mm-hmm.
And as always, please stay warped and twisted as ever.
Peace.
Tune in next week, same time, same place. We'll be right here, ready to embrace. Every Monday we got something new. Life's unpredictable, but we're staying true. Through the ups and downs, we'll be here to guide. Come back next week, we'll be right by your side. Burnt out perfectionist, we're making our mark. Life's unpredictable, but we got the spark. Join us as we talk it all through. This is the show that's made for you. Burnt out perfectionist, we're making our mark. Life's unpredictable, but we got the spark. Join us as we talk it all through. This is the show that's made for you. We've laughed, we've learned, it's been a ride, but conversation doesn't have to hide. Tune in next week, same time, same place. We'll be right here, ready to embrace. Every Monday we got something new. Life's unpredictable, but we're staying true. Through the ups and downs, we'll be here to guide. Come back next week, we'll be right by your side. Burn out perfectionism, got so much to say. Real raw and ready to talk today. We'll be back next Monday with more to store. Catch it then, we're always here for more. Burnt out perfectionist, we're making our mark. Life's unpredictable, but we got the spark. Perfectionism, got so much to say. Real raw and ready to talk today. We'll be back next Monday with more to store. Catch it then, we're always here for more. Catch it then, we're always here for more. Catch it then, we're always here for more. We've laughed, we've learned, it's been a ride, but the conversation doesn't have to hide. Tune in next week, same time, same place. We'll be right here, ready to embrace. Every Monday we got something new. Life's unpredictable, but we're staying true. Through the ups and downs, we'll be here to guide. Come back next week, we'll be right by your side. Burn out perfectionist, we got so much to say. Real raw and ready to talk today. We'll be back next Monday with more in store. Catch it then, we're always here for more. Burn out perfectionist, we've got so much to say. We're all ready to talk today. We'll be back next Monday with more in store. Catch it then, we're always here for more.